Hi, I'm Joe.
And I'm Digna.
Welcome to Relationships.
We're a couple having a few.
You can find us on social media. We're on Facebook, and it's facebook.com/a-couple-having-a-few. On Instagram, we are instagram.com/getting-to-know-brews. And you can find us on YouTube. Our channel name is Getting to Know Brews. If you want to reach out to us via email, you can email us at drinkndrive@icloud.com. That's drinkndrive@icloud.com. Welcome back.
Hi.
Which is bye. If you play this in reverse, it'll actually say bye. It's actually very crazy.
Bye.
See? Showed ya. Today's episode is going to be brought to you by another pumpkin beer.
What?
Gord, ready for this? I don't know. I didn't really think that one through. I was trying to go for something. I had nothing.
Kind of you to do.
Something about pumpkin patches. I got nothing. So the box that we bought, once again, it's still August. It's only a day after we were.
August-toberfest.
I'm showing you behind the curtain right now. So it's only a night after.
Ooh, embarrassing.
The episode. Yeah, we should have cleaned up before we let you see behind the curtain. But here we are.
There's no one behind the curtain. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Why do you sound like Liza Minnelli when you do?
I feel like there was like a modulation in his voice.
No, not a chance.
Yes, there was. Anyway, whatever. Watch the Wizard.
I'll say, Liza Minnelli wasn't even conceived yet, but her mother was in the movie, so there you go.
There you go.
So this episode, once again, we're going to dig a little bit deeper into the 12-pack of pumpkin beer that we had with David and Alexis.
Yo, David.
Oh, they're going to say hi, David and Alexis.
Oh,
whatever.
Hi, David and Alexis.
Nope, you're dead to me.
No, I'm dead to David.
Or yeah, yo, David. So, you know what's funny? I haven't had these beers since that episode. Mm-hmm. I can say that for sure. And we are now on to, there are 4 different types in this pack. So I have to let you know, I just randomly put on a piece of paper while Digna wasn't there. There were 2 different beers. There is both of them by Elysian, the Great Pumpkin.
Elysian Air.
No.
Sorry, we did that last time.
Stop
I
it.
thought we were doing that.
That was last night or week, depending on
last time. I wasn't
know.
trying to be like.
But the Great Pumpkin, which is an imperial pumpkin ale, which means the ABV is going to be high. It's going to have probably a little bit.
That's why he picked it.
Malty or sweeter. No, I did not pick it. And then the other one is called.
It's called. How? Just kidding. It's called Dark O' the Moon.
Dark O' the Moon?
Elysian. Dark of the Moon. Pumpkin Stout.
Oh, it's funny because I thought it was just called Howl at the Moon, so I wrote Howl.
That's why I was confused. He wrote Howl on the paper,
Yeah.
but I was not looking at the label.
Well, it's got a big. It's a really cool picture of like a wolfman type thing.
Werewolf, obviously.
So I wrote Howl.
So you just wrote the verb.
Yeah, howl. I wrote howl equals radish, as in just a random word.
I got a Dark of the Moon, sweetheart.
And then I wrote Great Pumpkin equals lettuce. And then I said to her in a to make it as, I don't know. Random as possible. I said radish or lettuce. That's all I said. I didn't tell her why. She said radish.
I don't know why. I don't like radishes. They're gross.
I don't, there was no, I wasn't even thinking about like, ooh, maybe she'll say this because she totally hates radishes. So she'll definitely say it. No, there wasn't even that behind it. I just said radish or lettuce, and she chose radish, so she got Howl.
No,
or sorry, Dark O' the Moon.
Dark of the Moon.
Dark Side of the Moon. So I got the Great Pumpkin, and so the Great Pumpkin, I'm just going to read this here. Great Pumpkin, Pumpkin Imperial Pumpkin Ale. The Great Pumpkin is the world's first Imperial Pumpkin Ale. It's packed with pumpkin and roasted pumpkin seeds, and spiced with cinnamon, nutmeg, cloves, and allspice. And what are we sitting at? 8.4% ABV.
He knew I'd pick radish.
It is unfiltered, and it may contain sediment.
Sediment.
Sedum. And
hi, Zebby. And I have Dark of the Moon Pumpkin Stout. Sorry, Dark of the Moon Pumpkin Stout. Dark of the Moon Pumpkin Stout is spookily smooth and chocolatey with a touch of cinnamon. Pumpkin Stout with chocolate and cinnamon. And mine is 7.5 ABV, unfiltered and may contain sediment.
So the ones we had last night, I think they were both in the 6% range. I don't think I mentioned it. Sorry, I meant last week. Last episode. Yeah.
Way last episode.
Way back in the 24 hours or so ago. But yeah, that one was, those were about 6%. So these are actually the heavy hitters.
Yeah, that was not intentional.
Yeah, it actually was not. But I will say, just looking at the bottom of this thing, there was definitely some sediment. So you're supposed to, obviously, if you shake a beer, you're going to fix any sediment. So shake it vigorously.
Shake a beer.
Or if you don't want to wear your beer, you could just roll it gently on a table. Like
and still let it sit for a minute before you decide to open it.
I mean, whatever.
Like
it was
a
fine.
very light, what is that called?
Bulb.
What's the thingy? A rolling pin. Clearly I don't use those often.
I enjoy this beer. It's very nice. Kind of has some of those, like I was talking about, those richer, maltier flavors, but it also has the pumpkin pie flavoring. So it's very sweet. All of these are very dessert. And I think a lot of the pumpkin beers are dessert related, which I think they should be. Unless you go to Helen Blazes soon. Hi, Todd.
Hi, Todd.
Are we doing that? Oh.
Hi, Todd.
Hi, Todd. I can't do that. But yes, at Helen Blazes, they actually have a pumpkin habanero.
It's a smoked habanero pumpkin.
Smoked,
ale,
yes.
right?
I forgot. Yes, smoked. So it actually has a lot of dark, and I mean, it's a very, it's an interesting beer.
I have tasted it, and it's definitely a good pumpkin beer. It's not a sweet pumpkin beer. It's like
it has
pumpkin,
no sweetness.
but it is spicy. It'll
Yes.
get you in the back of the
It's
throat.
good. It's a very neat beer.
It is unique for sure.
Unique
sure.
New York. Unique New York.
And as far as my beer, my Dark of the Moon Pumpkin Stout, it's quite stouty. It's good. It tastes very strong, which I feel like even though Joe's ABV is higher, his probably tastes more smooth, but it's because it's got more sweetness to it than this one. And we're going to swippy swappy and have a tasteums.
On my flippy floppies, go no swippy swappy. It's a good little piece of art, though. I like the
It's nice.
in front of the moon. Yes.
Yeah, this one is definitely a higher ABV, but that one tastes more beery, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, this one is...
They're both good. It's it's a stout, so it's
the
thick.
Dark of the Moon has less of a dessert beer type.
The darker the beer, the
thing.
stoutier the...
Yeah, it's just not it's not as dessert beer. But
Yeah.
this one, even though it's over 8%, still falls into that sweet. But that's, once again, I mean, it's got the word imperial on it. So
You've got to add a little bit of sweetness in order to tame the booziness. But
sweetness
we
and
have
the
always
heatness.
been avid Schlafly pumpkin ale folks for that dessert beer flavor, and we've even
Hi, Schlafly, send us free stuff.
we've even foregone. Oh, is that how that works? You just
Yeah, you just say stuff
just
and
say
everyone
stuff
sends you
and they give you
stuff.
things.
Just write it off.
You can't just write it off.
What does that even mean?
But yeah, so we've actually gotten cases of the Schlafly pumpkin beer
Don't let her.
for dessert instead of getting actual pumpkin pies or desserts or whatever over Thanksgiving.
For Thanksgiving,
Yeah, and it's always
that
really
was
nice
our
'cause it's
pumpkin
like-
pie.
You have your meal, you kind of have a little bit of a respite, and then you grab yourself a pumpkin ale. And we've done that in the past, and obviously we don't have access to Schlafly here as easily. So I do know that one...
Hi, Vanessa and Tyler. Send me beer.
Joe got me like a metric butt ton of the pumpkin ale once from Total Wine for my birthday in August, right? Wasn't it? I don't know. Either way, there was a lot of it in the house, and it was local, but it was brought in through Total Wine, and so we had that for Thanksgiving.
It was
that
probably
year.
like 3 times the price that you can get it up in St.
I'm
Louis.
sure it
like,
was.
yeah.
And I don't even know if they still carry it or if that was kind of like a one-off. Either way, if they don't have anything like that available around here for Thanksgiving this year, maybe we'll go with the Elysian because they have a really good pumpkin pack.
Maybe.
Okay, sorry.
I'll say there's
we
a
didn't discuss that beforehand.
there's a couple other ones out there that are really good that I've enjoyed, but they're very dessert like and higher alcohol, so you just drink a little bit of them. So yeah, they're pretty good. But no, this definitely is a good get you in the Halloween season, but it's still 850 degrees.
It is. And I keep mentioning like to Des, what are we going to do for Halloween this year? Because we have such a big yard to decorate this year. And we, last year we camped at Disney for Halloween. And I think following our birthdays in August, I think that's when we started like making all our crafts and things like that
You
for
crafty
Halloween
people.
for camping. But it was like camping scale stuff. So it was things that would be put on a table, at our campsite. So we're going to have to think a little bit bigger this year. But it is kind of like,
Or we could take the RV out again.
oh, we sold our RV.
Wah, wah. Yes, we are no longer RV people.
RV people?
Nope, I said RV people, and I'm sticking to it.
You're stacking to it.
Stacking. Yeah, we had as you've probably heard in many episodes of this
Because
show.
you're such avid fans.
Yes, all of you guys. You guys pretty much know you guys probably know my social security number by now because like that's how open we are with you guys. But in case you don't, let me just give you some info. We had an RV for a few years.
Yeah, 2 years.
Yeah. But before that, we had an RV that we went in halves with Digna's mom, and through many shuffles of this and that, Digna's mom ended up with the RV, and we ended up RV-less. And then her mom did a little switcheroo for her RV
Like on the up and up. It wasn't like she.
yeah,
ran
no,
away
no,
with the
yeah,
RV
there
or
was not,
anything
yeah,
like
there was, yeah, sorry, yeah, it wasn't, it
sounded
wasn't like
we were like,
she-
oh, we woke up one morning. And
she
it's
swindled us.
She's
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Sorry, go ahead.
You made it sound like the Bee Gees sing that song.
Who sings that song? It's not the
Hall and
Bee Gees?
Oates.
Whatever. Same.
No. Anywho, yeah,
Anyways,
yeah, there was nothing,
Nothing
below board.
nefarious.
Yeah. So it ended up that she had it and she was living in it for a little while, not because of any sort of
She
nefarious
wasn't
things there.
Cousin Eddie.
But it just wasn't quite enough. Even though there was just she and her husband, it was just, a Class C RV just wasn't quite right. So they ended up kind of trading their Class C for a fifth wheel, and the fifth wheel was much more appropriate for
Living.
full-time living. So they lived in it for a little bit over a year, yeah. And I mean, they ended up selling that one, fairly recently within the last year or so, but we had no RV for a while and we decided to get something else, but we didn't need the giant one. We don't even have a pickup truck. We don't have like a, big Dodge Ram or whatever. So we're looking for something that you can pull behind an SUV. So we did our homework and we looked for a few different types, and we ended up looking for one, and we're like, oh man, we really can't find what we're looking for. And we'd almost given up hope. And I guess we'll look again later. And the salesperson, she's like, we just got one in, like just came in, blah, 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 blah,
Perfect size. It's
And it was the
new.
perfect size. It was so this would have been 2020 when we bought it,
Mhm.
and it was a 2016. So it's 4 years old, which is oddly enough, 4 years in RV years is somehow very old. It's not like very, very old,
It
but
could
it's
be rough. Like if it had been not taken care of, it could have been in horrible shape.
like, ooh, it's 4 years old. Yeah, that's an old RV. But you're like, 4 years old? That's a brand new car. It's barely broken in, that kind of stuff. So it's kind of weird how that works with different things. But yeah, we bought it, and it was, it was in, good shape and all that stuff. And we, I think we took decent care of it, and, we took it out and we enjoyed it for the 2 years that we had it. But, with things being how they are, we knew that it was going to be some time before we'd be able to use it.
And it was just sitting in the driveway, and it was, I wouldn't say it was an eyesore, but, because it wasn't.
Well, it was going to end up
moving.
it was going to end up deteriorating in front of our eyes is what was going to
It would have
happen.
been so sad if we opened it one day and there was like a hornet's nest or like some
Exactly.
squirrels had taken up in the microwave.
And we went in there and we, like I had
we
a
were taking care of it.
yeah,
but
I had a
still.
dehumidifier in it to make sure that it was, not getting like black mold growing inside. So I mean, it was definitely
It was just kind of depressing to look at and
Yeah.
know that we couldn't go anywhere.
and Yeah, I mean, it's
And
almost
that's
like
not to say that we didn't have like offers for help, but it just the way we felt and the way the situation is, we didn't feel comfortable putting, all of our responsibility on one other person or trying to schedule multiple people for, several days of care. And it wasn't going to work. So anyway, we decided to sell it. So it's sold.
and we did. I will say the people we sold it to, I was very happy to meet them because they were like ecstatic to get this. They were like, "Oh my gosh, this is the one we want."
It's kind of how we felt. We were like, "This is exactly what we
like
want."
like here we are. It's just us and Desmond. So this thing has a queen size bed and a dinette that can turn into another bed, and that's it. So if you've got more than one child, well, shame on you. No, that's not. I meant that's not the RV for you. But so there are a couple that they don't have any kids that are around to worry about
retirement.
Yeah. So they don't have little ones running around. So it's perfect for just a couple. I mean, like that right there. We may end up, once Desmond's a grown ass man, once he's a big guy, maybe we'll get another one just like it,
But we did feel like we were even in the position that even if we
knew eventually Desmond was going to outgrow the bed area for
even
him.
if we were still able to camp regularly at this point, we were still starting to consider trading what we had in for something a little bit bigger, not just because he's physically getting bigger, but also because it's like a 4 to 5 night.
Well, we were thinking about
but size-wise,
doing some extensive driving too.
Exactly,
so like, yeah, you want a little bit more space if you're going to be staying in it.
That's like a weekender camper for us anyway. Like,
and that's how they're using it. So and they just took it out for its maiden voyage too. So I was glad to see that they, they sent pictures and they even tagged us in it. So it was real nice to see.
They tagged us.
Yeah, it was real nice to see our RV getting some use, and I hope it gets so many more trips.
Care of,
oh my gosh,
they definitely seem like they would be on the up and up as far as like taking care of it and loving it and all that. So
I know that it's maybe weird. I don't know if weird's the right word, but humans kind of put sentimental value to inanimate things. It's just what they do. Like, oh my gosh, I had a car just like this back when I was, my first car was a this. I wish I had one of those. You hear that kind of stuff all the time. And that's kind of the way I feel about this RV. Because yes, our first RV was the big Class C with Digna's mom, but it was kind of as a, it was hers and ours. So it wasn't just us. So it was like, it was like ours and theirs. And it was big. But this one, because it was so small,
it was just ours.
It was just ours. Like nobody else ever spent the night in it. I mean, I don't even know how they could have.
If they did, we weren't there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was our RV, and so there was emotional attachment to the RV. Because of that, it was like you're sad to see it go, even though that's the best thing for it, and it's going to get used. And honestly, meeting the people, that they're going to take care of it. They're not going to just like trash it.
Yeah, we of course we had the obligatory like, I'll give you half the price of what you're asking, and
not from them.
Not from them. Just when we put it up for sale, there was like the
Let's go to that one. So like you listed it. I don't remember the day of the week, but you listed it. We'll just say on a Monday. Was it that day? But it was like super quick that you got some like offer for almost half what we.
Oh yeah, it was like, oh yeah, I'll give you half, and I was like, nope.
Well, here's the best thing too. So you put it on like social media. You put it up on like Facebook Marketplace. And you're like, oh, I want this price. And you're like, I'll give you half cash. And you're like, well, what the hell do you think I was going to take for it? Freaking
definitely not taking credit.
Magic beans? Like, I'm not jacking the beanstalk here. Like,
this isn't buying a house where like buying cash is some sort of like offer that wasn't already on the table.
It's like, really? Because I didn't look like I had a finance business in my backyard. Like, what?
You know what? I'm sure there are other forms of payment that people accept and people offer, and it all works out. But that was not my jam.
Like, how much is that in goats? Like, no, I'm not bartering goats with you for this.
I will trade you babysitting for your camper.
Exactly. Like how many car washes until this camper is mine? Like, no, that's not how it works. But it's just fun. It's like, I will give you this cash. I was like, you can give me that much in cash. And then the rest of it in cash as well. It's good that you're going to have at least that much, but then the rest of it is necessary. But
just no.
But like, I'm going to give you that much cash. Like all of a sudden it's like, oh, good, you said cash because I thought you were gonna say pudding pops. So woo, I'm glad we didn't have to fight over that one. It's just it blows my mind that they try to like lowball you, and they haven't seen it. They they didn't kick the tires. They just throw out a number, and it's like, no, I know what it's worth because I've done my research. I'm not throwing out an arbitrary number. I almost said abuela.
I thought you were saying obituary.
I'm not throwing an abuela number.
I'm not giving you deadbeat numbers.
I'm not gonna give you arroz con abuelas.
That sounds good.
I don't know how much. Maybe, you know what? If he would have said that,
I'll take it. I'll take 6 arroz con abuelas.
how much mofongo for your for your RV? But yeah, I mean, it's just like, I'm gonna give you this much cash. Needless to say, we didn't give it to Mr. Cash. The people that came up there were just like, you know what? He was like, I was, thinking about how I would maybe see if I could talk you down and all that stuff. But he's like, you had it priced right.
It was the right price.
It was the right price.
And it was the right price because we weren't trying to swindle people. We weren't trying to negotiate with people. It was just like, this is how much it's worth. We know it's worth this much. If you want to buy it, go for it. If not, it's happy to sit in the driveway.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
Deborah and
Pierce
did us a great deal.
So there you go.
By coming in, we felt like we had some stuff in common. They were prior military.
The military folk and military folk
really
kind of thing.
People, and they had, not that we have in common that they're from up north, but they're from up north, and they decided they didn't want to deal with that anymore. So they were like happy to dwell in the fiery pits of Florida sun. And,
kindred spirits in a lot of ways. Yeah. So it was good seeing it go to them. We're like, yeah, you know what? And I delivered it to Pierce. I already had the hookup and all this, because his vehicle didn't have all the towing stuff, already there because you need. So it's like, sure. So I towed it there and dropped it off in the driveway. So he invited me in for a beer, and he had a kegerator. So I had a beer.
Joe's attracted to kegerators?
A beer on tap. I was like, you know what? I really feel happy about my decision to let it go to them. So yeah, it was. So it's kind of a if bittersweet,
Joe,
but
Joe and a kegerator had a baby, would it be a crowler?
No, that's not how that works.
Darn it!
I'm bigger than a keg. I weigh more than a keg.
I know.
It would have to be bigger than a keg. It would have to be like a fermenter, or a bright tank or something else.
Kit, or what? Not the tester kit, but whatever they like test they make the pilot beer, the pilot kit, the pilot set, whatever. Delete all that.
Shut up. 7 hours later, we are no longer gypsies.
Gypsies.
That was kind of that's not our Papa-ism for this episode.
It's not, but it could be.
But that is a Papa-ism. So we're gonna get a bonus Papa-ism because this one popped in the head. We talked about a few years back. We talked about.
He's still little. He might have been like 2.
We talked.
Was he like not even born yet?
I don't even remember.
He might not have been born yet when we had this conversation.
No, because we were back in Florida. We were back here.
Okay.
So we talked about maybe doing the RV thing and traveling the country, going from place to place. At that time, it would have been like baby Desmond, little Desmond, and letting him kind of enjoy the
great outdoors,
our great country, all the things that you can see, the natural wonders, and maybe some other wonders that aren't so natural, but just our country. I thought it was a great idea.
Wonders.
And he was like, "You're gonna be a bunch of gypsies." Like, he was not all about that. And
I was like, "Yeah, is that bad?"
I was like, what? Like, I don't know what I expected. I mean, I guess I should have expected it because they moved into this house in the early 60s and they did a little bit of traveling here or there, but they never went.
I think I expected for someone to hop on I was going to say a plane. It's not a plane. To hop on a ship and go across the Pacific to a country that he probably didn't even know existed. I think I expected a little bit more open-mindedness about traveling or adventure, even just in general, but
well, apparently you expect too much.
I always do.
Huh?
It's what I do.
It's what I do. So that was our bonus Papa-ism.
Bonus.
That one literally just happened, but yeah, but it tied into the RV episode kind of pretty well.
Yeah.
But
It was a good wind down to our
our actual
official
our
Papaism.
our what we had chosen before this episode, our Papaism. Once again, it's not a specific saying, it's just a Papaism. This one was about my grandfather's overall GI. And I don't mean government issue. I
No,
mean
not
gastrointestinal.
not his military service.
Yes, not his, thank you for your service, but talking about his guts. Let me go back to the beginning.
Let me take a step back.
Let me take a step back. You know what? Let me take one more step back.
Let me take one more step back.
Okay. At one point in his life, he had knee pain.
High knee or low knee?
Weenie.
Mm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes. So both his knees were in pain. He used to climb ladders, and he used to, he used his knees, and
He was hard on his appendages.
exactly. So when you are hard on your knees, they decide to break down, and it is what it is. But because of that, I don't know. My grandfather was pretty free with the pain pills that he took. I don't know what they were. I don't know exactly the name brand. It probably would have been as like the 70s, and maybe.
So we'll just call it an ibuprofen cocaine infusion.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever they had back then.
Wrapped in spinach, because Popeye.
Yeah.
And because of that, the medicine he took so he wouldn't feel pain in his knees, because he still had to use them. He still had to work. He still had to live his life. The medicine apparently is bad on your guts.
What?
And you can read stuff about, too much ibuprofen and too much, all those things that talks about it's not great for your guts to take it all the time. So saying that,
He didn't know that.
he apparently didn't know. I don't remember the exact circumstances. I don't remember if his mom, so my great grandmother Nan, I don't remember if she had just passed or if it was the time she was sick. This is either way, it was close to the end of her life.
I feel like it was when she was sick, but
Yeah. So I don't think she had passed yet, or maybe she had just passed. I don't remember the circumstances, but they were definitely up in Georgia where she lived.
for that they were there for that purpose.
But it was definitely the purpose. She was the purpose. So either she had just passed or she was terminally ill, or, that kind of stuff. And he was up there, and they were staying in a hotel. And in the hotel room, he went to go to the bathroom, and full on blood. Full on. And of course, you're like, well, I don't remember eating that.
Beets? Beets.
Yeah. Beets like galore.
I think you'd have to have beets by days.
And then he almost was beaten on the grave. But he was like, wow, that is very disturbing. And that was it.
Not okay.
And then I think very soon after, he did the same thing again. And they're like, all right, we got to go to the emergency room.
I just feel like you should have had pain. Anyway.
But I mean, I don't know if you have nerves in your gut like that. So maybe you couldn't have felt pain.
So they did find themselves in the ER.
And then he's sitting there in the ER in Georgia. And
a long time, right?
Yeah. Well, the ER is just one of those things that they're not necessarily the fastest thing to see. So he's sitting there, feels the urge to go again. It's not that he has had that much food that needs to come out of his body. It's just some cavity in his body kept filling up with blood. And he was breaking down. He goes again in the ER bathroom, and once again, blood. And they'd been waiting forever, and he decided not to flush, and called my grandmother over and was like, yeah, let's get somebody over here. They can see this. So finally, they convinced somebody medical to take a gander at the toilet, and they saw, you probably did not eat the blood platter last night. So they immediately...
The poo-poo platter?
Well, if it was the poo-poo platter, we know what it would look like. But because it was full on blood, the guy was like, yep, they rushed him in there.
Into surgery.
And, they did all sorts of tests and probably CAT scans, MRIs, etc. And they found out that his colon had been injured. It had deteriorated.
Just gone.
Yeah, and ended up, they're like, wow, yeah, this thing you're in a bad way, and you're internally bleeding. We need to do some heavy duty emergency surgery. And in this time, they were pumping blood into him because he had practically bled out at this point. So they're pumping blood in, and this is years ago. I mean, he only died recently. He lived. This is like 1997. No, this is 1997 roughly when this happened.
Really?
Yeah. So he lived, another over 20 years, 25 years really, after having this issue where he almost died. And they pumped, I think he always said, they pumped 12 units of blood into me. So if by units, they mean pints. Well, that's more than the human body holds. So he was bleeding out faster than they could fix him, kind of thing, for a while there. So they put that much into him. And what they had to do is they had to take the deteriorated tissue out and connect, like the little middle section is broken. So they had to connect this one to this one, the two good pieces together.
The exhaust to the middle of the engine?
I don't know how that all works.
I don't know how engines work either.
But
either way, the exhaust had a new connection.
But either way, he had some problem with his exhaust, and they had to do some welding. But so they had to take out some colon, and so after that we referred to his colon as his semicolon. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. While he was healing, he was not supposed to eat anything with seeds. So I remember them scraping seeds out of tomatoes.
Oh my gosh!
During that time, and
miss tomatoes, man. Tomato sandwich.
Man, gotta have a tomato. Man, gotta have a mater. But because of that, they wanted to make sure that he never had to, worry about constipation. Mm-hmm. So here he was with his semicolon, which was kind of thing, and he ended up with a scar on the front, like right down his abdomen.
He had like a zipper,
and that's what he called it. He called it a zipper scar. Mm-hmm. So these are Papa-isms: the semicolon, the zipper scar, and he also would take Metamucil because they wanted to make sure you weren't having like really hard bowel movements after going through all that. The thing that was funny is he would take the Metamucil, and it's Metamucil. Honestly, the orange flavor. It doesn't taste bad at all. It tastes pretty good. It's like kind of like Tang, You stir it. Yeah. Well, you don't let it become Jello. You have to stir it up and drink it before it becomes gelatinous in your body. Like you don't want it to become gelatinous. So he stirred it up and he drank it, but he would always do a little song, especially when I was younger. And it was, if anyone remembers Howdy Doody from the 50s. And it's Howdy Doody time. So he would go, it's Metamucil time. It's Metamucil. And I was like his thing. And then he would drink it. And,
like a stinking Jack in the Box.
And he'd go, that's so good. Like he would just. So my grandfather and Metamucil
I thought it was more, that's so good.
No, that's because of Cousin Eddie from Christmas Vacation. That you're like, that was good. Yeah, but he's like, that's so good. Yeah, like he was just like, it was good, and then he just loved his Metamucil. But yeah, honestly,
I'd love it too if I had part of my body removed.
Yeah, but yeah, he was honestly, he almost had, he says they had to shock him. He said they had to use the defibrillator. And I don't know what happened because at that time, I was a teenager and I was here in Florida.
He was really busy having a girlfriend.
I don't know. Was I, give or take a little bit? I don't know.
97?
Well, the end of 97 is when we dated, but I don't know the dates. But I was definitely looking for a girlfriend at that point in my life.
He's definitely not paying attention to his grandparents' distress.
Wow. I mean, there was nothing I could do as a teenager from Florida.
Wow.
But yeah, so he almost died back then.
I mean, you don't have to say back then is 25 years like it's like back then.
Look,
I mean, we're not that old.
Look, we're watching Keeping Up Appearances with my grandmother now. Miss Bucket, if you will.
That's not my choice.
And that was in 1995. And I'm like, how was it that long ago? How,
it does seem like
how was 95 that long ago?
70s.
Well, yeah, the humor was not that, advanced or whatever. But it's just funny, it's a lot of the laugh track and all that stuff. Yeah. But yeah, so my grandfather, what was the other one? Oh, yeah. And because of that, he had, he would take Metamucil. He would very easily become constipated, very easy become,
go the other way.
Yeah. So he was like always like
Fluctuating.
But it wasn't. It was never like, hey, I just pooped once today and I felt normal and all that stuff. It was like I pooped 17 times or I haven't pooped at all. And I think just because of that, though, all of his reactions were knee jerk. So it's like I haven't pooped yet.
Knee jerk because he took medication for his knees and got rid of his colon and
Full circle.
full circle.
But like if he were constipated or what he believed to be constipated because he hadn't gone yet that day, out would come the laxative and then he would just go like crazy and then he's like, oh my God,
There's something wrong.
I've got diarrhea, something's wrong.
He would
And
say,
then
I have diarrhea, something's wrong. He'd
he'd go,
say,
I got diarrhea.
hey, Joey, I got diarrhea.
And so yes, the theme is my grandfather's GI, like I said. We got one more GI thing. I know we're running long on this episode because we're talking about butts and poops and whatnot. But yeah, so that was his I got diarrhea. And then
He ended up having a procedure done a year ago, 2 years ago?
well, before that, my grandfather went to his general practitioner, and he said, I'd wake up in the morning, I'd have diarrhea, and then the doctor would be like, how many times did you go? Well, I went that one time. He goes, well, that's not diarrhea. That just means you had like a looser bowel movement.
It's just called going.
He's like, that's just going to the bathroom. It just wasn't as, I don't know. I guess he's expecting to pass a bowling ball. I don't know.
God, I hope not.
But it's like
25 years of expecting a bowling ball? God.
But he's like, he'd go one time and like, I got diarrhea. I went one time. And so that was, so even if you're in your 80s, you may not know what diarrhea actually is. So maybe
Google that now?
yeah,
Like Google's
everybody
available?
look up a definition, maybe go to WebMD, find out what diarrhea really is.
Really
Before
look into the depth of your soul before you say that you have
Yeah, your soul is where you need to be focusing in that case. And then the last one, still related to the GI, my grandfather had a hernia, and this was
It
right.
was 2 years ago.
This was just before COVID. COVID was just happening.
So 2.5 years ago.
Like 2020, 2019, like that kind of time. And he had a hernia. So I brought him to the hospital. He had hernia surgery.
In his stomach.
Right, yeah. So they went in, like, I think through the belly button, and they put in a thing and he was good, And the problem, so I was there with him. I wasn't in the room. They were like scalpel, and boom, I handed him a scalpel, because I would have been the anesthesiologist. Wait, he's fine. What are you doing? Well, I need it. After his surgery, they were telling us, they're saying, just to let you know, after people get fully, anesthetized.
That's a big word.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a
probably
big word.
That's probably why I said it wrong at least once now. They're anesticles.
Yes, they're anesticles.
Yes. So after they get anesticles, their body, you wake up, but your body may not wake up 100%. And part of that is your ability to
go to the
bathroom. So they're like, okay, yeah, thanks for the warning, doc, all that stuff. So we come home, and I'm sitting here, and it's been hours. I'm like, maybe you should go to the bathroom. And he didn't feel the urge to pee and all this kind of stuff. So finally, the doctor said, like, if it's been 6 hours and he still hasn't peed, you need to. So we went to the ER, and they're like, yep, you're full of pee. So they ended up having to give him a catheter, which I was in the room for. So whoop, whoop, saw that, yay. And that's something you can't unsee. I don't know why I looked, but I'm in a room and they're doing a medical procedure or whatever.
In the room where it happens, the room where it happens, the room where it happens. Go on.
I didn't want to be, but there I was. So there I was. They gave him the catheter because, he's full. He's got to go. So he did his thing, and he had a catheter for a few days, and then they were telling him, like, hey, keep that catheter. You can drain the little baggie on your own at home. Come in on Monday if you still can't go. But before you do that, you can. They told him how to, like, drain it. Long story short, he called me. We had friends in town. Hi, Tyler, Vanessa. And I didn't want to ignore my friends because I had actually been away from them quite a bit that week. He called me, and I just wasn't near the phone or whatever. So he left a voicemail, And he told me, I'm peeing and I'm pooping. I'm peeing and I'm pooping.
He was so enthusiastic.
Well,
so
he was relieved.
celebratory.
Yeah, he didn't have to go back to the hospital again, you know, all this stuff. Yeah, so he left, and I still have the voicemail.
Which should probably be the out music to this episode.
I can't. I don't know if I can do that.
I'm
But
sure you can. I believe in you.
No, I don't believe technically. I just don't know that I will do that. How about that?
Fine.
I can, but I don't know that I will. But yeah, so that's a voicemail after he passed. I listened to it, laughed, cried, and all that stuff.
It was
but
a voicemail before he passed.
It was before he passed, but I listened to it
Since
he passed, and it just kind of, you know, brings a smile to your face and all that kind of stuff. So
you could like hear his like giggle in the.
oh,
this.
he knew he was being
Hey,
silly.
Joey.
I'm peeing and I'm pooping. Yeah, 2 Papa-isms this episode. So there you go.
I mean, that was like 4.
Well, but they were all GI. It was Papa's GI.
That's true.
Papa's got guts.
Papa's got some guts.
All right, guys. Well, make sure you look up the definition of diarrhea and know whether you have diarrhea. You know what? And for good measure, know what constipation is. Know what the definition of constipation is. So you don't say, hey, I'm constipated, or hey, I've got diarrhea, and take medicine to fix the other.
And just
When maybe
time.
when
Give
maybe
it
you just
time.
had a normal thing and enjoy that.
Also look up the word anesthetize.
And yeah,
Anesthetize.
Ernesto de la Cruz. Got it.
Ernest in pies.
Ernest in the pies.
Ernest in the pies.
All right, guys. Wash your hands.
Don't be gross.
This has been a Getting to Know Brews presentation.
Music provided by purpleplanet.com. That's purple-planet.com.